that he apparently finds himself in at the moment. But focusing on the Bendigo Gold, it's a really vexed question, isn't it, for the VFL about the future of this football club, because it's been a troubled time since basically their entire existence of 15 years.
Yeah, well, look, I got a call from Tim Dixon about a week ago asking me whether I would do a little ad, that they got some free advertising. I went down and...
Tim Dixon, the chair of the Bendigo Gold.
Yeah, the chair of Bendigo. Yep. I went down and did a little grab, a little ad, you know, to promote it, and I was surprised when he said to me that the club was possibly going to fold it, and he's put it bluntly as he did about handing the licence in. It's quite remarkable, isn't it? A club playing in a big city like Bendigo, a major provincial city with that sort of population, and you might not field your team because your social club facilities and ground facilities are inadequate. I mean, what is it about the modern world and modern football settings that these things can happen?
Let's hear a little bit of what the chair of the Bendigo Gold, Tim Dixon, had to say on ABC Local Radio this week.
The current board has basically sat down and said enough's enough. We need to find out once and for all if the Bendigo community and stakeholders in Bendigo, not just the people of Bendigo, but if the stakeholders in Bendigo support having a VFL presence here, and we want to build a sustainable model. We believe if we can't make this club sustainable and things don't change, that we're just basically prolonging the inevitable. The fact for us is that we're actually not moving forward. We're not putting some building blocks in place to make it a sustainable model in the long term. Look, as a board, we've jumped on the front foot and we're putting it back to the public. But more so, if this doesn't come together, we fully intend to hand our licence back at the end of the year. It's probably a question that should have been asked a long time ago in Bendigo, whether or not Bendigo fully supports a VFL presence.
I think that was the most interesting thing that I thought took from his interview, Phil, on ABC Local Radio during the week was, well, why haven't we actually asked this question? You know, when the team came in 1998, it was terrible, Phil. I mean, let's be honest. The performances on the field were similar to this year, where they haven't won a game. Then the Essendon alignment came, and they actually became competitive and got a bit of momentum there. But as soon as Essendon fell away, unfortunately, they haven't been able to sustain any momentum, no matter the good efforts of the people involved.
Yeah, well, look, the problem is when you try to establish a team out of nothing in a city, you've got all these teams that have some history playing in a city, but then you say, well, we're going to invent a team. When you try to invent a team that does not have a following, and you've got to have the council totally supporting you. Yep. You've got to have a ground that's right. I mean, when you go and put the Gold Coast up, set aside up like that, or Greater Western Sydney, you get massive financial support. Yeah. You come to a VFL club and it's totally different. I mean, I don't know how Bendigo can survive. I hope they can. But there's also a further question. This is an indictment for AFL, VFL football. If we can't sustain a team in Bendigo when we should be able to have Bendigo Ballarat rivalry, what is wrong with football?
Well, do you think it is, or do you think it's just a situation where, because they've created a team out of nothing, the people who do love their footy in Bendigo, and there'd be tens of thousands of people that do, they're just so bolted on to their local sides. And we know there've been some great champions come out of Bendigo. I mean, Greg Williams amongst them. There've been a lot of players.
But look, that's a very fair and reasonable point to make, Darren, counter to what I'm saying. But I kind of would have imagined that as you establish a VFL setting with a couple of Victorian clubs, you would be able to do it. So that surprised me. Look, one point I have to make too, I think you made the point in the box about Coburg. There is no question about Coburg standing next year, coming to the club. They're interviewing coaches. They've got 12 applicants for their coaches. Some prominent names have applied. Coburg is paying its players. Coburg, in fact, is better off financially than a lot of other clubs, but it doesn't have gaming, so it's got to raise the dough. But Coburg definitely got no problems in the near future. But these are big issues.
Yeah, absolutely. Have your say at VFL ABC if you're on Twitter. Make sure you send us a tweet, and we'll have a chat in the second half of this game between Essendon and Sandringham about your responses. Now, Ahmed Saad, Phil, was out here playing